Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
McDavid, McKinnon scores! Nathan McKinnon!
The Olympic dream still alive after a clutch goal with less than a minute to go. It secured Team Canada a spot in the gold medal game. And
good morning, everybody, and happy Liberation Day. We'll see, right?
a smug jab from BC's premier after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Trump's tariffs, how the president is retaliating, and how it will impact BC. Plus,
Surrey Police Service was $40 million underspent last year. So the starting point for the budget is very similar.
The Surrey police budget under fire as the union sounds the alarm on what they call a cut to funding.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jessica Cheung. We're learning more about the investigation into a mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge last week, where 6 children and 2 adults were killed at a high school and the shooter's home in the small, tight-knit community in northeastern BC. Now, ChatGPT developer OpenAI has reached out to RCMP about an account associated to shooter Jesse Van Rootselaar prior to the attack. And our Mira Baines joins us with more on this. Okay, so Mira, what is OpenAI saying about the shooter's online activity?
OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, says employees considered whether to contact law enforcement about Jesse Van Rootselaar's online activities, but decided the activity did not meet the threshold to notify police. Police say Jesse Van Rootselaar is responsible for a mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge. Van Rootselaar died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after killing her half-brother and mother, followed by 6 people at a nearby high school. The company says the account was banned last June for violating the company's usage policy, but says at that time the case did not meet their threshold because they did not identify credible or imminent planning. The company points out that over-enforcement can be distressing for a young person and also raised privacy concerns. The company released this statement and says, in part, we proactively reached out to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police with information on the individual and their use of ChatGPT and will continue to support their investigation. The story came to light in a Wall Street Journal article. It's unclear exactly what Van Rootselaar's activities were on the platform.
Okay, and so how has the RCMP responded to what OpenAI is saying?
I reached out to BC RCMP, who say digital and physical evidence is being collected, prioritized, and methodically processed, including a review of social media and online activities. Police confirmed that the platform reached out to the RCMP after the incident. There were questions about Jesse Van Rootselaar's mental health leading up to the shooting, as well as how chatbots interact with those experiencing mental health issues. OpenAI says it's reviewing the Tumbler Ridge case to see if improvements can be made for referring cases to law enforcement.
All right, thank you so much for bringing us that story, Mira. Really appreciate it. Donald Trump has signed an order announcing a new 10% global tariff after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down the tariffs he had imposed on nearly every country last year. Now, it's a major blow to the U.S. president. Katie Simpson has more from Washington.
U.S. President Donald Trump overstepped his authority when he imposed a wide range of tariffs on American trading partners. In a 6-3 decision, the court struck down these so-called Liberation Day tariffs, the ones that applied to individual countries, as well as the border security and fentanyl tariffs that were placed on Canada and Mexico. Trump had cited his emergency authority powers when imposing these specific tariffs, and the court said he can't actually do that.
Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you.
While Trump was angry about this decision, he was certainly prepared, unveiling a new tariff strategy that does appear to be within his power. He'll apply a 10% global tariff that he says will kick in starting Monday, and it can remain in place up to 150 days. And he says his administration will launch a series of investigations to explore additional sector-based tariffs, similar to the ones on steel and aluminum that remain in place. While this is not the ruling Trump had wanted, he's vowing to press ahead with his tariff agenda. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Now, an update on Trump's new 10% global levy. The majority of Canadian exports will not be impacted, as the tariff will not hit goods compliant under the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. But for the small portion of Canadian exports to the U.S. that aren't under the agreement, they will face the 10% duty instead of the 35% tariff that was struck down today by the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, this ruling is being celebrated by BC officials, but it won't have an impact on BC's struggling softwood lumber sector or the steel and aluminum industry that are still dealing with ongoing duties. And as our Katie DeRosa explains, that's disappointing for those looking for reprieve.
Happy Liberation Day.
Premier David Eby welcoming the news that the U.S. Supreme Court has struck down some of Donald Trump's so-called Liberation Day tariffs. The court overturned the president's fentanyl-related duties on Canada, Mexico, and China.
While it doesn't address the challenges in our softwood sector, it certainly does potentially address some of the serious concerns we have about our relationship with the United States.
Disappointment from some in the softwood lumber sector that there's no reprieve from the combined 45% duties, which have led to layoffs and mill closures.
And there's still some long-term pain and for workers and uncertainty in this industry, and it seems to never end.
The decision does not impact the 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum products and the 25% tariffs on the auto industry. The owner of this Surrey-based steel fabrication company says he's shifted his business from 85% U.S. contracts to primarily Canadian customers. Kareem Walji, also the BC chair for the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction, says he's hoping for a reprieve through the renegotiations over the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA.
The biggest win for our industry would be if we can get CUSMA or USMCA renegotiated and have these Section 232 tariffs eliminated for Canada.
This political science professor says the court ruling could take the wind out of Trump's sails when it comes to his trade bargaining position.
Of course, further retaliatory tariffs become less credible for Trump to use as a threat in future negotiations.
BC's premier says the court decision opens the door to a legal challenge to Trump's national security tariffs on softwood lumber. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
Expectant parents in White Rock will be diverted away from Peace Arch Hospital until Monday, once again because of staffing shortages. Now, the Fraser Health Authority says this is the 7th time since early December the hospital has not been able to staff OBGYNs. This means parents will be sent to an alternate hospital to be attended to by an unfamiliar doctor. Now, the Midwives Association of BC says the diversions are logistically challenging.
We're kind of in the middle between the system and the patients. So we're trying to inform the patients and make a plan for, don't go to Peace Arch. Make sure you call us when you're in labor and we'll meet you at the hospital that, we're being told to go to. Like I said, usually Surrey, occasionally Langley.
Now, in February, Ridge Meadows Hospital also had to divert people away from its maternity care. Fraser Health has now set up a dedicated web page to update the public on current closures. And BC's ambulance paramedics have reached a tentative deal with the province, avoiding job action for more than 6,000 workers. Now, the union Ambulance Paramedics of BC says talks broke down after Christmas, and little progress was made in January on issues like mental health and wellness supports, benefits, wages, and training. Now, the agreement will have to be presented to paramedics and dispatchers across BC before a ratification vote. The Surrey's police union is sounding the alarm over what it's calling a cut to the city's planned policing budget for 2026. But the mayor says the force underspent last year. And our John Hernandez explains why the two sides are at odds.
The Surrey Police Service won't be getting all the money it requested this year. The police board and city staff agreed to shrink the budget by about $47 million after the police force underspent last year. Here's what happened. In November, the Surrey Police Board drafted a provisional SPS budget for 2026 asking for $331 million. That's up from $240 million in 2025. The increase said to reflect the next phase of the policing transition, where SPS continues to expand and assume responsibilities in the remaining districts from the RCMP. A month later, Surrey's mayor said she wouldn't support the increase, which she said would spike property taxes. City staff and the police board spent the next 2 months trying to trim it down. A revised $284.5 million budget for the year was put forward, a near $47 million reduction. After a closed discussion Thursday, the police board voted in favor of the change.
And all in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much, directors.
The union representing officers slammed the revised budget.
The extortion crisis going on in Surrey is pulling members away from frontline functions at a time that we're being asked to take over more and more districts. So if this is just an adjustment, why wasn't the proper consultations being made?
But the mayor says the required officers will be paid for and that the SPS actually underspent last year.
The Surrey Police Service was $40 million underspent last year. So the starting point for the budget is very similar. We're still increasing that budget by over $85 million.
The union claims the savings came from things like vehicles, facilities, and IT, which will be needed as the service expands.
And if those weren't spent in previous years, they'd logically need to be spent in this year.
Surrey's police chief wasn't available for an interview, but said this to the board.
Should the need arise as we move forward, we will be making application to the city for extra funding as needed.
The latest chapter in this costly policing transition, the budget will soon be submitted to City Council for approval. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, officials in Revelstoke say a skier has died following an avalanche in the Selkirk Mountains. Now, officials say a group of 4 guests and 1 guide were in a backcountry heli-skiing area yesterday when a size 2 avalanche was triggered while one of the last guests was coming down the route just after 2 p.m. Now, they say the skier was overtaken by the avalanche and buried under around 1.5 meters of snow. Crews were able to extract the guest, who was flown to a hospital in Revelstoke, but unfortunately passed away. Well, now Avalanche Canada is warning that the avalanche risk in parts of the province is expected to rise this weekend. They say a storm is expected to bring new snow to the south coast and the sea to sky region, making the avalanche risk jump significantly.
Actually, we've had a big storm that's going to be coming in this weekend. Our weather forecast has changed a little bit. So we're looking at about 25 to 65 centimeters of new snow falling on the south coast, and kind of 20 to 35 centimeters falling in the sea to sky with moderate to high winds. So we're going to see our avalanche danger jump significantly this weekend.
Now, Avalanche Canada says March has traditionally been the deadliest month for avalanches. And it was a nail-biter of a game that kept us all on the edge of our seats until the very last minute. Team Canada defeated Finland in the semifinals at the Milano Cortina Winter Games, meaning Canada will have a shot at the gold medal. And Canadian fans
trying to help out Reinhardt, worked it loose, Celebrity in front, McDavid, McKinnon scores!
That's the moment that when the men's team beat out Finland 3-2, Nathan McKinnon scored the winning goal with only 35 seconds left. The team managed the win despite team captain Sidney Crosby's absence after suffering an injury on Wednesday. And a little after that game, the United States defeated Slovakia. So it will be a Canada versus USA gold medal game on Sunday. And the heart and muscle behind Canada's men's bobsleigh team. We'll have that story coming up next. Thanks for staying with us. The city of Surrey is making a bid in response to Canada Soccer's call. The organization is seeking an expression of interest from municipalities and provinces that would like to partner on a new national training centre. Now, our Sohrab Sandhu tells us why the city believes the facility should call Surrey home.
Soccer Canada is looking to create a new national training centre. The Surrey coach thinks it should be located here.
I think Surrey is a hotbed for talent.
For almost 2 decades, Paul Baya has been coaching soccer athletes in Surrey. Now, Baya is the technical director at Surrey Football Club. Baya says the club has 2,000 members and holds its practices and matches at the Newton Athletic Park, one of the 3 locations put forward by the city to be the new home of Soccer Canada's National Training Centre.
I've been all around the country playing soccer, coaching and playing at a high level. This is the best facility you're ever going to see.
The city has put forth a proposal to host the centre in Surrey.
But the one key that they needed is roughly approximately 40 acres, 40 to 60 acres of land or facilities to be able to accommodate. So Surrey has some of these in place.
The city says along with the Newton Athletic Park, it has proposed the Cloverdale and South Surrey Athletic Parks as 2 other venues.
We do have 3 areas that very much fit the criteria of what they're looking for, and we'll probably have minimal adjustments required to accommodate what they need.
The wider infrastructure that Surrey can rely on, the access to YVR, our airport is the 2nd biggest in Canada, and the location in the most dynamic city in the Lower Mainland, I think would be something that would potentially be attractive.
Canada Soccer says part of the funding will come from FIFA World Cup 2026 legacy funds as well as federal and provincial investment.
The key for these types of bids is the bids tend to be most successful and most uncontroversial if they take existing facilities, upgrade existing facilities, and bring additional use to existing facilities rather than doing sort of greenfield development.
Canada Soccer says the request for information is the first step in identifying potentially suitable locations, which it expects to complete by mid-2026. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
Well, Canada may not have the best equipped men's bobsleigh team, but it has the muscle, CFL level muscle, actually. This year, 5 of the team's 8 athletes are from the world of football. Colin Butler now on who's behind that power move.
8 months ago, he was chasing a CFL contract. Now, Lukas Stoikos is pushing a sled on an Olympic level. He calls it a wild experience.
It was diabolical. Feeling the forces of gravity on your body and just the experience of that. It's like being in a bathtub, put in the dryer, and just going on a spin cycle down a ski hill.
And when it comes to this particular switch in sports, Stoikos is not alone. Of Canada's 8 male bobsledders at the Milano Cortina Games, 5 are from the world of football, all part of a plan devised by the coaching staff.
I trained for bobsleigh my whole life, I just didn't know it.
The strategy was shaped by former CFL running back turned Olympian and world champion bobsledder Jesse Lumsden. With no little league to develop its own athletes, bobsled borrows where it can.
We don't have grassroots bobsledding, we don't have junior bobsledding. So we look for athletes that have the physical attributes, the team characteristics that you look for to make great teams. And then when we bring them into our program, we turn them into bobsledders.
If you're able to generate...
Kinesiologist Daniel Keir says football players are built for this kind of power.
They will have a large composition of what we call fast twitch muscle fibers. So these are big, thick muscle fibers that contract very quickly and with a lot of force. And they're very good for allowing people to cover a distance in a short amount of time while opposing a load.
But even the brawniest athletes can only do so much. Germany pairs power with cutting-edge sleds, while Canada is racing on Germany's old ones. If Canada can't outspend the world's best, it can at least try to outpower them using something most countries don't produce: football players. Colin Butler, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Ice on the Thompson River there on a cold, crisp, wintry day in Kamloops. We'll have your weather forecast coming up after the break.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
CBC is a proud partner of the Vancouver International Dance Festival. Experience bold artists who challenge norms and see movement in a whole new light. Grab your tickets now at vidf.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC's e-newsletter and keep connected with us.
Darius Madavi joins us now from Grouse Mountain, where they're celebrating the 100th anniversary there. Wow, it looks beautiful there. There are people skating, and it's kind of great. You guys give us a true live weather forecast. So tell us, how is it looking up there?
Well, like you said, Jess, they're celebrating the 100th anniversary, but honestly, I think most of the folks here are just celebrating the snow, which is a sight for sore eyes. It's been coming down pretty well all day, some heavier a bit at times. It's picked up a bit now, just perfect timing. And I've talked to a bunch of folks who are up here skiing, snowboarding, skating, and everybody really just with a big smile on their face, enjoying this weather, because It's a big change from what we've seen for most of the season. Well, smile on their face when I can see it. A lot of people do have masks on. It is pretty cold. Let's talk a bit more about that. Take a look at this map, which shows satellite and radar across parts of southwest BC. As you can see here, a fair amount of snow coming down at those higher elevations, but also down fairly low too. Like I said, all the local mountains here in Vancouver getting plenty of snow, which is very sorely needed. We do have a snowfall warning in place, though, for parts of the east coast of Vancouver Island from around the Comox, Campbell River area. That's been in place from this afternoon. It'll continue through tomorrow afternoon. Maybe just some big blasts of wintry weather. 5 to 10 centimeters of snow is likely for most areas, but we could see locally higher amounts getting a bit above that mark as well. Like I said, temperatures, actually maybe I haven't said this yet, I've been too excited. Temperatures over the next few days are going to be coming up in southern BC, but in the north temperatures actually drop a bit tomorrow, and then they don't start to see warmer temperatures until probably Monday or Tuesday. But here, temperatures returning to seasonal, so 8 to 10 degrees across the south coast. We are going to see more precipitation coming in. Even though temperatures are rising, freezing levels stay pretty seasonal. Bit of a jump to 1,200 meters tomorrow, but then back down to around the 800 mark through the rest of the weekend and the week. So that means lots of snow on the local mountains. We have a bit of sunshine, but also mixed precipitation in the interior tomorrow. More precipitation on Sunday across the province. And here's our 5-day forecast with, again, some more showers, but snow for the mountains.
Wow, looking good, and it looks fun over there. Maybe get some skates on, Darius. You can enjoy your night.
I'd go with skis.
Okay, we love skis
skated,
too.
I would wipe it.
Yeah, all right. Thanks so much for that. All right, thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on our free CBC Gem app as well as on YouTube. Have a great night.